All right, guys. Our next guest is coming off a fantastic performance, arguably the biggest win of his career when he defeated Albert Tumenov at UFC Rotterdam. He is Iceland's own Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar, welcome back to Submission Radio.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. We really appreciate you taking the time, especially late at night. And before this interview, we were messaging back and forth. You mentioned you were watching Netflix late into the Icelandic night. What are you watching on Netflix, man? Is it more Vikings?
No, it's a movie called 10,000 BC. I don't know if you've seen it. It's pretty cool.
Give us the Gunnar Nelson rating. What do you make of this movie? What is it about?
Well, I'm 40 minutes in, and it's kind of, it's supposedly happens 10,000 BC, and it's just like these little tribes from different places, fighting each other, and so it looks like a little love adventure in it as well. I don't know if you remember Apocalypto, that movie, Mel Gibson movie. It's similar in ways to that, you know.
Well, you don't sound sold on it, Gunnar. I think you're just being nice, just in case the creators of the movie are listening to the show. I assure you they do not, although who knows, maybe they are MMA fans. Now, let's talk about UFC Rotterdam. You got the $50,000 performance of the night bonus. Any ideas on what you're going to spend that money on? Are you the type of guy to splurge and buy more snowmobiles, or you put it away and let it collect interest?
More snowmobile.
How many snowmobiles do you own at the moment, Gunnar?
Nah, I just own one. Well, own one and one really old one, just like an antique almost. But yeah, I'm gonna sell the one I have and buy a new one. So like a brand new one.
More guns, more rocket launchers on this new one.
Yeah.
We saw some videos of you heading out with snowmobiles, and for those who think that you're a sort of serious stoic guy, we've never seen so much happiness and emotion out of you as when you're around snowmobiles. Is it safe to say that some of the happiest times in your life have taken place on a snowmobile?
Yeah, I really enjoy riding bikes and snowmobiles. I mean, it's unbelievable, you know. It's so much freedom. And these new snowmobiles, the Polaris Pro RMK, are just, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Well, what do you guys do? Do you just cruise around the snow? Are you doing jumps and tricks? Are there like little laps that you guys do around the town and you play music while you do it?
Yeah, no, we go riding in the mountains. Friend of mine, they're really good. They've been riding since they were kids. I'm only new to it, really. Yeah, so, I mean, jumps. I don't do big jumps. I just started jumping. They do some serious jumps and just hill climb. And you're just basically traveling over mountains on the thing. And, I mean, there's absolutely no limit to how these things can climb, you know. It's just how good you are at riding, you know.
Mm-hmm. We've seen some crazy snowmobile-related videos on the internet. Any interesting stories you can share from your snowmobile adventures?
Well, a funny one is we took John Kavanagh, my coach, took him out when he was over here, and he's never ridden a snowmobile before, obviously, and he thought he was going to die a few times, and he just after, just saying that it all came back to him, you know. When he met me, he was like, one day this kid is gonna be the death of me. And that was when he was riding up. It was not a big hill. In his mind, it was the biggest hill, biggest hill of all hills. And it just become a little bit steeper and steeper, and at the top it was a little bit of a overhang. I don't know if that's the right word, but so it's almost just like vertical, but only like half a meter or a meter. He did well, but I could see it in his face when he came up. He thought that this was gonna be the end.
John Kavanagh, poetic guy, and full circle. Interesting to see his perspective. But I mean, at this stage, it almost seems like a foregone conclusion that you'll be riding a snowmobile to the Octagon. If me and Casper can organize a Reebok snowmobile for you, would you be open to, cruising down to the Octagon on that baby? Maybe up a wall, down a wall, around the arena a bit, and then to the Octagon.
That would be sick.
I think you'd have to find a new corner though. John Kavanagh would be like, I can't train you for this one. I'm sorry. All right, let's talk about your recent win in Rotterdam, Gunnar. One of the criticisms of your style, at least on the feet, has sometimes been that you're a low volume guy. Against Tumenov, you came out and you really took it to him early on. Were very active with lots of pressure. Was that something specific that you'd been working on, and will you be taking that approach in your future fights?
Yeah, definitely. I have been working on my stand-up like specifically for a while. I haven't showcased too much of it, although maybe Brandon Thats, it was a quick one. And then in the Maia fight, obviously most of it took place on the ground, and then now was the first time I really felt like I was able to use some of the stuff that I've been using in training. So yeah, it was definitely the plan to come out aggressive and use my tools. I believe I have a lot of tools that I haven't shown yet, and I was able to show some of them in this fight.
Well, other than your performance, we saw GQ Gunnar Nelson because you're in even better shape than you normally are. You seemed more ripped and looked like you packed on some extra muscle. Were you specifically trying to get bigger for this fight, and was there something you did differently in training for this one?
Yeah, we started this new fitness program, and what it did to me was just like I was actually lighter than I have been, so the cut was only like it was not even a kilo for me in the bath this time, whereas
Wow.
before it was 2.5, maybe even 3 for the Maia fight, I believe. So I think my body fat versus muscle is like different. The body fat is a lot less than it was. So I think that's the main reason. And maybe some good pictures with a good lighting compared to some of the other ones. But yeah, I think that would be the main difference. So maybe I'm like a kilo heavier or like a kilo more muscle, and then a couple of kilos less of fat.
I mean, people have always commented about how you're, undersized at welterweight, and you've always brushed that off and pointed to the extreme weight cutting that, takes place in MMA. I'm wondering if your added muscle or new fitness regime had anything to do with you ever feeling at a strength disadvantage or outmuscled in any of your fights.
No, I never felt that the weight didn't matter too much. Like I've said before, I think it's technique, and you have to of course, it does matter to be bigger and stronger, but you have to be able to work around it then. And I'm never gonna be a big guy in this division, I'm not. I'm just like, if I eat whatever every day for 2 months, I won't go higher than 84 kilos. That's the highest I've ever seen on the scales. So I'm not gonna be a big welterweight. That's a fact. I can be strong, very strong for my weight, and I can use my speed. Definitely, I do believe I have a lot of speed advantage too, on a lot of these guys. So I think you should use what you have and learn how to beat the bigger man. In my case, anyway, I'm not gonna cut weight and go down to lightweight. I don't like that. I don't believe in these weight cuts, and it's just not my style. So, yeah.
Well, we'll talk about some of the new changes, some new exciting changes to weight cuts and weighing in soon. But we have to talk about that finish at Rotterdam. Talk us through it, because it looked more like a crank opposed to a choke. Were you going for a crank instead of a choke? Talk us through what happened when you finished off Tumenov.
Yeah, he kept his chin, low really well. It was hard to get under his chin, and so sometimes you don't really need to get under the chin. You just go over, and then if you're just able to if you're able to lock in the rear naked choke, it doesn't matter at all. He's in all kinds of trouble there. He's choking, he's cranking because I'm pulling my shoulder, my right shoulder back, and the elbow. It's just, and it's uncomfortable in every kind of way. But he's also choking because his chin is pushed back so much that it's cutting his air supply. And at that point in the fight, he's gonna need some air,
It used to be that, when a fighter got their opponent's back, it was pretty much game over. But over the years, obviously, people's choke defense has gotten a lot better. Perfect example here, to the point where fighters now are often going for cranks instead of chokes. With some of the recent crank submissions, do you think that's true? And do you think that fighters are moving in that direction more these days, going for the crank instead of the choke, as opposed to in the past?
I wouldn't go that way, to be honest. I would just, take what's there. I think chokes are a lot better than cranks still today. I know it's hard to get a clean choke on a good guy, but still I think it's easier to choke a really good guy than to crank him. I think if you're really good, you're always able to kind of move your head in ways that the crank will just kind of. I think you need more force, a lot more force and brutal strength to crank someone than to choke him. You need be a lot more technique and timing and slickness to choke him well if he's good. But I would be more of a believer in choking, cutting the air supply, cutting the blood flowing up to the brain than to crank somebody. Although using cranks to, get chokes as well and mixing it all together is definitely the way.
Well, one of the interesting things to come out of the post-fight press conference was that not only do you not wrap your hands in fights, but that you would rather no gloves to be worn in MMA. I mean, this is a very interesting point, and a lot of people that are from the boxing background, that sort of blows their mind. Can you explain your reasoning for why you don't want gloves?
Yeah, I mean, I just put it out there. I know that's never gonna happen. I'm well aware of it, but I think a lot of grapplers would agree with me, because it's very different grappling with gloves and no gloves, and it's very different. When you're doing something with your hands, you get a feel for it. The feel that you have in your hands is very important, and putting these gloves on just take a lot of that away. So obviously, when you train, you need to train with the gloves and get used to the gloves, but it'll never be the same as not wearing gloves.
Mm.
Going in for chokes, for an example, would be a lot better with no gloves. It's a lot easier to slide in. All chokes, guillotines, rear naked chokes, every choke you somehow slide in there. Maybe it'd be a little bit easier to get out of some submissions, like arm bars, for an example. I don't know. Yeah, probably. But I think just overall, you get a lot better feel for, because you're working with your hands when you're grappling, when you're fighting. So the better feel you have, the better you can work.
Mm. And just on the whole thing about not wrapping your hands, I mean, from a boxer's mindset, that's a crazy thing because a lot of traditional boxers believe wrapping your hands is so important to protecting your fists, limiting damage when you punch. How do you go about not wrapping your hands? Have you found it to be a lot better for you than wrapping them? And also, do you have to put your hands through specific training to handle not being wrapped? Because I know a lot of people in the gym, if they don't wrap their hands and they go to throw a punch, a lot of the times they'll injure themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the con to not wearing gloves or not wrapping, is that you could very well injure your hand and break all these little bones in the hand that aren't that strong. But then you have to really watch how you hit. You have to train how you hit. And I mean, we used to do quite a bit in karate. They used to teach us how to hit, how the hand positioning is supposed to be, where to hit, which knuckles to use primarily. Um, and then they made us hit the board, the makiwara. And you get used to and hitting all different types of bags, and hitting all different angles into and then slowly you get used to landing punches and getting a feel for where your fist is strong. I think that could help a lot of guys. Whereas like boxers just go in day one, put on big gloves, and then just they're taught to keep their hands as loose as possible and just throw your arms out there. Only use your hips, and that they're not really taught to punch. I think as if you were gonna punch somebody with bare hand, because that's very different. So I think I've never injured. Well, I've had bruises in my hands, but that's mainly when I use big gloves. When I'm using like boxing gloves, some of them are not a good make, and I've hit my thumb because it's like you can't make a fist, and it's the way boxing gloves are. The thumb is kind of up to the side there. You can't make a fist. So I've hit my thumb a few times boxing, but I've never ever hurt my hands with the MMA glove or just no glove. I punch the bag a lot with no gloves, and the small gloves, all different bags, just getting used to it. I think it's just a matter of training, really. Of course, everybody can break their hand, everybody can injure themselves. That's a risk, But you see a lot of guys breaking their hands even though they're wrapped, I think there's other things in there than, I don't think you can just wrap your hands and you're safe. I think there's other things that might matter more than these little wraps,
That's fascinating. I'm wondering, are there any other rules that you would like to see changed, Gunnar? I mean, we know your thoughts on extreme weight cutting in MMA. We'll talk about that in a second, but are there any other rules that you would like to see added or taken away?
No, mainly the weight cutting would be my main thing. The gloves, it's not really a thing that matters too much to me. I know if you take out the gloves, you probably see so many more fight stops because of cuts, and I don't really want that. So I do believe that we need gloves. I just threw that out there. Just it was just like I'm making a little point. Didn't really mean too much with it. Although I still stand by what I just said. I think it will be more realistic and it's great for a grappler. Really good.
Well, they're all fascinating points. Sorry, go on, Gunnar.
Yeah, no. So the main thing that I would like to have changed would be weight cutting. But one more thing that would really change the fight and make it more realistic is take out rounds and let the fight be. Because one thing we've seen over and over again is somebody is in a really bad position, and then the round is over, and then they start, and then again. That's not a nature of the fight, that's nature of show business, and I understand it, but it's not the nature of the fight, and that fight could very well be over. You could say the same on the feet. Sometimes he's running away, he's tagged, he's rocked, and then he gets a minute break, brings him back in. It's not the nature of the fight, but it's show business. It's what it is.
Well, it's all fascinating points, and actually a lot of people, speaking of that point as well, the round system, not always popular with a lot of fans. Now, speaking of weight cutting, it seems like the UFC has been listening and will be implementing a new rule beginning at UFC 200 where fighters must check in at the start of the week at no more than 8% of their target weight. If they're over 8%, they'll be monitored daily, and if they show signs of dehydration, they'll be pulled from the fight. I mean, this must be music to your ears, Gunnar. You've spoken to us many a time about this. What are your thoughts? And are you happy to finally see measures like this?
Yeah, I mean, this is great. Did you say that they were discussing this, like the UFC were?
No, it's going to be implemented from UFC 200.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, wow, I hadn't heard this.
So are you just learning about this from us now?
Yeah.
Well, how about that? I mean, look, that's kind of a full circle thing. If John Kavanagh was here, he'd say this thing started in a lot of ways on Submission Radio, talking about how it should be changed. And now, look at this, it's changed, and we are the ones to tell you about it. Yeah, man, this is going to be happening from UFC 200. There's also going to be earlier weigh-ins. Instead of the 4 p.m. weigh-ins, people are going to have an opportunity to weigh in from 10 a.m. How about that?
Yeah, this is perfect. This is where we want it. This is towards the right direction. I had to look this up and and read more about it now. But this is awesome. I didn't even know. It's crazy that I'm hearing it from you guys now.
You must be happy about this, because this is something that you've wanted for a long time, to sort of get rid of these extreme weight cuts. And I mean, it may not get rid of it 100%, but like, what kind of changes do you think that's going to mean for your division, specifically the guys that you're going to be fighting in the future?
I mean, yeah, they must have some guys move up from this. So how does it go exactly? So you have to say it again, like the rules basically.
So at the start of fight week, you can't be more than 8% over your weight limit. So yeah. I don't have it in front of me, like a welterweight. I'm not sure what you'd be weighing, but I think it's around 180, 182, 183, something like that. And if you're over, then I guess you're going to be monitored, and they're going to be making sure that you're not dehydrated or you're not dehydrating yourself, which would, in theory, stop people from doing a weight cut at the start of the fight week. And then if over that next 7 days, week, they see that you are really dehydrated, you may be pulled from the fight.
So only if you are over, you're monitored, is it?
So if you come in and you're over 8%, you're not going to be pulled. Yeah. But if they see over the next week that you are really dehydrated, then you will be pulled from the fight. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is gonna force a lot of guys to go up, I believe. So it's gonna force people to fight people their own weight. I really hope they do monitor, and I don't know how they do that, but it would be very bad to see guys still forcing themselves to do a nasty cut and just come in, maybe that 8%, but they've already cut. So they need to monitor these guys as well that come in and are, already under 8%, because they might be cutting before, and they might be already drained, and I don't know, maybe a few guys are going to do that and then realize that's just way too much, and then it's going to take it all out of you for the fight. But I think they should monitor everyone, see if people, any of us, are too dehydrated or not fit to fight, basically, not fit to perform. I think in some of these cases, there's, like we've talked about before, this guy's been dropping down doing that weight cut, and they've done it a few times before, but all of a sudden they drop down. So it's it speaks for itself. It's very bad for you.
Well, your father and yourself have obviously been very, very vocal about all of this, and who knows? I mean, there's a big possibility that the UFC listened to what you guys had to say, and you were a big part of this rule change. I'm just wondering, after this is all said and done, and you call up your dad and presumably talk about these changes, what will you say to him? I mean, in a lot of ways, is this a bit of a victory for you guys?
Yeah, definitely. He definitely doesn't know about this, because otherwise he would have been on the phone to me.
Now you get to break it to him. Isn't that cool? We get to break it to you. You get to break it to him. What are you going to say? What are the first things you're going to tell him? And by the way, you have to mention Submission Radio. You can't take this away from us. Submission Radio told
him. Yeah, I'll ring him and say, we've done it. I'll definitely, I'll call him right after this. I know he'll be awake. He's a night bird,
Yeah. He's a night owl, old Hallie. Now, going back to you, Gunnar, you came off that loss to Damien Maia that you told us broke your heart a little bit, and now you come back to dominate, beat, and finish a guy that was supposed to be, the next big thing at welterweight. What does this win do for your confidence?
It was a great win for me. It does a lot for me, because, especially like I said before, I got to I get to try out a lot of things that I've been working on, and I get to show a lot of my tools, and um, as well coming off that loss, coming off, feeling not too great about my performance and my physique, or yeah, coming into this fight, just performing like this and feeling the way I felt, and connecting really well with my body, and it meant everything to me.
Mm-mm. Well, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to have a look at the rankings, but as far as what's next for you, is there any name that stands out or gets you excited?
Not really. Like always, I just want to fight the next guy, and as I've said before, I believe I'm going to fight most of them, if not all of them, So who's next is not really my focus. I'm focusing on my training, and obviously want to get a guy that's ranked higher than me, preferably. But my nature really isn't even thinking about the rankings. I would be kind of really or not really forcing but kind of forcing myself to be like, yeah, so this guy's ranked there, and this would make sense, and climb up the ladder and yada yada yada. But it wouldn't really be my nature.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, it would make sense for everything to get a guy that's ranked, at least maybe the top 15, top 10, top 5 would be great, anyone.
I definitely agree that, yeah, for sure, a big step up in competition, hopefully one that will, put you on the map even more on the way to a title shot. But we do want to get your thoughts on the landscape of the division. When we spoke to you last, you mentioned how you thought Damien Maia should get the next title shot. A lot of people are discussing this. What did you think of his performance at UFC 198, and do you still think he should be next in line?
Yeah, I would like to see him fight for the title, um I think his performance against Brown was great. I believe Brown went to decision with Lawler,
Mm.
if I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he finished him in the third round. I think he's done a lot to prove that he's next in line. Even though he lost to McDonald, I still think that he showed some great moments in that fight as well. And I think he would probably be next in line.
Mm-mm. Well, I mean, a fellow karate alum in Wonderboy Thompson is fighting Rory McDonald. Do you think Maia gets a title shot over the winner of that? And also, speaking of title shots, what do you think about Tyron Woodley getting the shot against Robbie Lawler? Do you think he's the right guy to get that shot?
Yeah, that kind of surprised me, but I feel like I haven't seen Tyron Woodley for a while, but
Mm.
I maybe I don't see all the fights. It did surprise me a little bit, but he's a great fighter. I think Wonder Boy, if he beats McDonald, it would be hard to not give him the title shot. And I think that would be a fight that people would see as a very exciting fight.
Mm-mm.
Uh, two strikers, but very different styles. People will be very excited to see that matchup. So, I think if Wonderboy does beat Rory, he will get the title shot.
You talk.
If
Sorry, go on.
if Robbie is still a champion, that is. I don't know if Woodley beats him, then maybe it's a little bit different. But still, Wonderboy is undefeated, right?
No. Matt Brown beat him. Matt Brown beat him when he came to the UFC. I'm not that familiar with his record, so I don't know if he's been beaten any other times, but I know Matt Brown beat him. But you mentioned if Robbie Lawler is still the champion. I know you said you haven't seen too much of Tyron's fights, but what do you think? Do you think he can get it done? Do you think he is the man to beat Robbie Lawler?
Who, Woodley or
Woodley, yeah.
um? No, I don't think so.
Why is that? Take us into your mind. You've obviously got a great mind for these things, and you spend a lot of time watching these fights. Why do you think he may not be able to get it done?
I think I don't think he's durable enough for Robbie. I think Robbie has a lot more fight in him for longer. I think Woodley is a great athlete. Um, he I think he punches a little bit too. He's a low volume as well, like you were talking about um, that I have, and I think just his style, the way he's low volume, he's very strong and powerful, and I think whatever he's going to throw at Robbie, he's going to be able to defend and just kind of wear him down if he doesn't catch him early. Um, that's how I see the fight go. That's basically. I think their energies is gonna kind of match like that. I think either Robbie will catch him, or Woodley might get one takedown early. I think Robbie will scramble up and slowly wear him down and probably finish him.
Mm.
Now, let's get back to you, Gunnar. I mean, a big win under your belt, a lot more confidence. GQ Gunnar Nelson in shape, lots of muscle, whether it's under the right light or not. What kind of timeline are you looking to get back in the octagon? Do you have a certain event in mind where you'd like to return?
Yeah, I'd like to return this fall. This summer is gonna be. I'm gonna spend a lot of time with my boy now. His mom is gonna go abroad. She's doing like some project in Berlin, so I will be spending a lot of time with him this summer. So, I'd like maybe this fall. I don't know exactly what cards are on, but I would be aiming for a little summer vacation or spend some time here. I'm always training, but
What?
uh,
So I was
and
going to say, what month is that? You say fall, but we got different seasons. What month is that?
so maybe September, October.
Okay.
Very interesting. Well, Gunnar, look, we'll let you go. We know you're tired. It's late over there. Before we let you go, one last thing. What are these rumors of your boy Conor McGregor possibly fighting Floyd Mayweather that we keep hearing about? What do you think about this? Do you think it happens, or is this all just pure speculation?
uh, I don't know. They're definitely hyping it up. Both of them. Both of them are taking part in it. So I think they would definitely like to build it up, build up the money, and make it happen at some point. But I don't know how it works with UFC and the contract. They had to make some deal with them and include them somehow, because most of us know how the UFC deals are, and you can't really just go off and do a super fight with Floyd Mayweather if you're signed with the UFC. But yeah, we'll see how things go. I definitely don't think it's gonna happen. Or whenever they said, September or something.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much a write-off. I don't think anybody thinks it's going to happen in September. But
no. I don't think New Year's. I think that's a bit too close, and I think they're, just putting dates and stuff like that. It will just hype the whole thing and just keep hyping it until they'll get few 100 million or whatever.
Yeah, well, hopefully, maybe if the stars align, maybe, and if it's supposed to happen, we'll see it. But in the meantime, Gunnar, hopefully we'll see you back, obviously, after your nice trip to Berlin. Hopefully we'll see you around that September time frame. We really appreciate you taking the time, guys. Don't forget to follow Gunnar on Twitter at Gunny Nelson, and of course on Instagram as well. And check out his gym as well. Mjolnir MMA. How am I doing with pronunciation? Did I get it, Gunnar, or did I butcher it?
Yeah, that was pretty good, actually.
Mjolnir MMA? All right, there you go. They are super, super busy and active on Instagram, so check that out as well. And again, we'll let you get back to your movie, 10,000 BC, and thank you so much for chatting with us, Gunnar.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, guys.